Hey guys, welcome to today's video. So I was just creating this base mesh for just future tutorials. I'll include a link on the bottom if you want to grab it for whatever reason now. But in this tutorial, I was thinking it would be really fun to maybe attempt to create a version of this guy as a base mesh with his hands being closed. So maybe a fist, right? Two fists on each side. How would you go about doing that in zBrush? So right now he is, there's 4 different levels to him, right? And this is being the highest. Now, what would be the process of turning these hands into like a good looking fist, right? Maybe it's like a superhero kind of thing. So there's a few different options, right? A few different ways you can do it. So for example, if I duplicate this and hide one of them, I can go back to geometry. Let's say I'll delete the higher, right? And now I just have this lower one. And normally what you would do, there's different ways of doing it, but normally most artists that are in zBrush will just use, you can use like the lasso, and you just simply mask out the portion of the finger, then you flip the mask and you use the rotate tool to kind of bend it. And you can do it piece by piece, right? So you could do it that way, and it's super frustrating and annoying, and kind of it's a tough process, right? Because you have to isolate each piece individually, then you have to rotate it, then you have to like resculpt it. Is there a different way of doing it? And there are a couple different ways, right? One, you could use Z-spheres to rig the character and then bend the fingers here in ZBrush. If I personally was doing something like this, I think I would just cheat and export this out into Maya, quickly rig the hand, and then import it back into here as a fist. I think that's what I would do. And I was just thinking maybe I'll make a video on how with something like that could be done, right? Just one of the options, right? So let's try this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to chop the hand off and bring it into Maya. So I'm going to go to Z Modeler. So let's do delete poly loop and just figure out where I want to cut it. Maybe like right here. All right, very cool. Then of course I can do something like let's do auto groups, and I can do Control Shift and click, and delete hidden, right? And now I just have the hand, right? Now to export this hand, I'm gonna go to export. I'll export this out as an OBJ, that's fine. I don't really care. I'm gonna say save. Let me jump into Maya, and here I'm in Maya, and this is character still loaded from my last tutorial, so maybe check that out as well. And what I'm gonna do, let me save this. I'm gonna do File, New, and let me just import the hand in here. All right, so here's the OBJ. I'm gonna import this in. And this is what it comes in as into Maya, right? So if I wanted to turn this into a rigged model, I should probably center it, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and let me center my pivot, and let's go ahead and press spacebar. Let's do Shift A, and let's just make sure this thing is centered, right? Somewhere in the middle to maybe rig this up. Very nice. All right, very cool. So now I'm going to press F to frame my model, and let me actually switch this to world for a second, move it around. If I wanted to smooth this, I can of course go to modeling, mesh display, and just do do soft edges so the hand looks semi-what normal, right? So to get this going, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into this view, right? Which is going to be the side view. And let's do a couple things. One, I'm going to turn my wireframe on. I want to make sure I don't select the mesh accidentally, so I'm going to click on this button here to make sure that it's not selectable. And now I'm going to go to rigging, go to skeleton, create joints. Let's click on options. And here I could reset this to make sure that my settings kind of match yours. And from this point on, we just need to start creating joints, right? So let's just start maybe with the index finger. So I'm going to click on, let's go ahead and select a joint here. And I do want the X-ray on, right? So I could see. So this is going to be my knuckle. I'm going to go to, of course, we know the finger bends in 2 places, right? So this is going to be bend number 1, bend number 2, and then I'm going to go off the finger. So this is going to be my first joint. I could, of course, still adjust them if I needed to, and I can even rotate them. All right, so this is great. Let's go ahead and do another one. And same thing, I'm going to go to the knuckle, go to the middle of the finger. Let's do something like this. I'm going to press enter and keep going, right? I'm going to do the same thing for this one. All right, we know the thumb is going to only bend in 2 places. And there you go. Now we have 5 fingers, right? Now we need to make sure that all of these are connected to some other joint, right? So I'm going to click on my create a joint, and let me just create another one, maybe somewhere right here, right? And if I wanted to control the size of this, I can always go into my attribute editor, and under radius, I can make this much larger. So this is kind of the main one, right? Now what I could do is I can select all of these, holding down the shift key, then click on this one and press P on my keyboard. All right, and now if I select the main one, you can see that's selecting all of them. Now, obviously, we only did this in one view, so we have to adjust these in every other view. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm gonna press spacebar. Let me jump into my perspective view. Let's turn this on so we can see through the mesh. And let's just carefully adjust these and put them into position, right? So I'm gonna click on each joint, and let me switch this to object. And just carefully put the joints where they need to be, right? All right, so next we need to bind our mesh to the joints, right? So I'm going to select the mesh, and I guess I have to activate it. So let me select my mesh, hold on the shift key, and select the joints. And now to bind it, I'm going to go to rigging, skin, bind skin. Let's click on options, and in here, let's just reset this and see what we could do, right? So let's try a couple different options and see which one works the best. So initially, I'm going to switch it to geodesic and do apply and close. All right, we can see what that looks like. Let me switch it to object, and we can see if this works or if we need any adjustments, right? Let's select each one, and it seems to be pretty good. On the first try, really, I didn't really do anything, so geodesic just kind of works. All right, so now let's just see if we could just use this. Could it be where we don't even have to do anything? Let's give it a shot. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to start folding this into what I think looks like a fist. And if I wanted to, of course, I can pull up a reference as well. All right, so I just pulled up a couple references, literally just typing this in Google, and let's see if we can follow some of this, right? At least start bending this into position, right? Just kind of gradually, I'm going to start moving these, and you can already see the power of this, right? You can create pretty much any hand gesture that you need very easily, right? It's a lot easier than, in my opinion, than doing masking in zBrush. But of course, there's different workflows, and you can do it in many different ways. But let's see if something like this makes sense, right? So I'm going to get it into maybe a better position. If it starts to bunch up in kind of a strange way, you know, there's really no reason why I can't move this around. I could still do that. All right, so once I get into this kind of situation where I kind of adjusted the joints, and obviously they're not perfect, right? Because I didn't spend a lot of time skinning this. But what I could do next is I can still move them around at this point if I needed to, just to make sure that the nails kind of look normal and all of that stuff looks pretty good, right? It doesn't need to look perfect, but it's, you know, I got it pretty much 85% there. All right, so once you get to the point where it looks, you know, somewhat decent, what we could do is we can select the mesh, go to edit, and then do delete all by type and delete history. And now if I select the joints, I can just delete them and the mesh will stay in place, right? So essentially we got to the same point where we could be in ZBrush by bending it, but we used joints to kind of assist us, right? So that's interesting. All right, so what we can do now is take this and export it back into ZBrush and adjust it a little more with some sculpting. So let's do that. I'll just export this out as an FBX file and then jump into ZBrush. All right, so now we can just, let's go ahead and make sure that this layer is selected, go to import, and let's just grab the OBJ or FBX. Let's import our fist, and it comes in just like this. All right, at this point, if I wanted to, I can, of course, adjust it as I please, right? So I can press F on my keyboard, and if I wanted to, I can grab, you know, the move brush or whatever, and just make some small adjustments to my fist. And it's going to be, you know, somewhat relatively easy, definitely much easier than using the, you know, the masking, right, to bend this around. And we can smooth this if we needed to. It's totally up to us, right? At this point, it's just sculpting. So I don't want to spend time on sculpting, but you can see that I got to the fist level relatively quickly and somewhat, you know, somewhat easy, right? Maybe I can adjust some of this. I don't really have any references, but all right, so that's pretty awesome, right? How do we put this onto our character? Let's go ahead and unhide our character, and then obviously the whole point of this was to swap these hands, right? So let me grab my move, get it into a position. Maybe I want to make it a little bit larger. And at this point, because we did adjust them in Maya, I have to kind of, you know, position them back into place here in ZBrush. But that looks pretty good. And now, how do I swap these? How do I actually plug them into here? So, of course, what I would need to do is I'm going to need to duplicate my model. I'm going to hide the original, go to geometry, and go all the way down to subdiv 1, delete higher, right? And now what I need to do is, let's just go ahead and make the connection between the two. So for that to happen, of course, I need to delete the other hand, right? So let me do Control W. I don't really need all these other polygroups. Go to ZModeler, and let me just, you know, go to delete, and let's do a loop, and let's just simply cut it somewhere here. That's fine, right? I'm gonna select this old hand, and let me do an island, and just delete the entire island. Okay, I see that I have some nails. Of course, I can get rid of those. Let me just do a split of masked items, take them and delete them, right? And now I just have the hand and I have the body. Now to make the connection here, I'm gonna have to take this and merge it together, right, into one. And then to make this connection here, I can go to my ZModeler. All right, now I'm gonna jump out of my active symmetry, and what I'm gonna do is go to Edge Actions, go to Bridge, and let's do 2 holes, and I'm gonna click on this edge here, and then click on this edge here to make the connection. And now now I can just smooth this out, right? Very cool. All right, so that looks pretty good, but I think I did it maybe a little bit too low. I can always, of course, move this up. Let me grab all of this here. And you can see what that looks like. And now if I wanted to flip it to the other side, I can always do, of course, mirror and mirror weld. All right, we can see what that looks like. Another thing we can do, of course, let's use the anchor, and maybe we can just bend this in just a little more so it looks a little more interesting. So again, very quickly, you can see how I was able to create a fist by using Maya and joints, right? That was pretty much the entire purpose for this. I can do Control D to go back into my maybe high res mode and continue sculpting from here. So maybe this is will help somebody and just give another alternative how you can do things between, you know, something like ZBrush Maya or even Blender. You could do, of course, the same thing in Blender. Just rig it up and bring it back and kind of reconnect it. Kind of thinking outside the box. All right, so thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in our next one.